Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. I'm going to be discussing the top 5 mistakes killers, both new and old, make while playing Dead by Daylight. Before I get into the first, I'd like to say two things. First, please consider subscribing to the channel if you like what you see. It's free and would mean a lot to me. Secondly, these are listed in no particular order, as any of them can hurt your game, but what mistakes you make can vary from player to player. Without further ado, let's get into the list.
Number 1. Lack of confidence / I'm doing what I can. This mostly applies to new killers, but even for veteran killers, it's easy to get into bad and predictable habits. Always doubling back on loops, trapping the same areas with the trapper or the hag, or carelessly picking up down survivors and getting blinded or stunned. Don't be afraid to stretch out of your comfort zone and improve your play. Be looking for clever ways to deny saves, clever spots to cut off survivors, zoning survivors in chase to the areas you have trapped. I believe the kill ceiling of this game is incredibly high, especially for the killers. Additionally, some killers have complicated and technical skills such as Nurse and Blight. These killers are hard to play, and with enough practice and learning, you can absolutely play these killers to a higher level than you are now. You just need to keep working out, trying new tricks, taking tighter corners, and more. Number 2. Perk selections. While this is not going to be me listing out a build for every killer, I am going to state here that sometimes perks that are considered really good on some killers aren't worth it on others. Don't waste perk slots on a perk you saw were top tier and end up using a perk on a killer that doesn't get a lot of value out of it. Ruin is a great example of this. Ruin's a top tier perk and most people consider it on every killer, but I'm going to encourage you to think if it actually helps. Billy and Nurse have tremendous map pressure. It can actually scare survivors away from the generators enough for its effects to, well, ruin the survivor's generator progress. Now imagine the same perk on Trapper. Trapper spawns and sees his totem all the way across the map. He either has to abandon his setup at spawn and go protect that, or abandon the totem and basically play with 3 perks. You can cover this with Undying, but there's still a chance that neither totem spawns near you, and you're wasting 2 perk slots to cover 1 perk that Trapper doesn't necessarily get any value out of. Unlike survivors, killers have a great deal more freedom and differences in their perk builds. There are far more than 10 good perks on killers, and each killer values perks differently. Some killers get very good value out of Save the Best for Last, and others get very poor value. My personal favorite killer, Pyramid Head, gets unique value out of close range aura perks like I'm All Ears, and I've even gotten value out of a Lightborn during the Bone Chill event when firecrackers and flashlights were in every lobby. Number 3. Bad priorities. Sometimes killers get it in their heads that they should tunnel vision 1 or 2 survivors, grab some kills, and be happy. You can do so much more. I'm sure you've heard larger YouTubers than me talk about why it's important to pressure the generators. Picture this. There are 4 survivors and you have started chasing one of them at the start of the game. This leaves 3 survivors working on gens at best. If you down a survivor in camp, there's a good chance that at least 2, if not 3 of the generators are still being worked on. They'll complete generators, and yeah, sure, you'll get your 1 kill, but that's no way to progress your skill. Additionally, survivors have strong perk combos like Borrowed Time and Decisive Strike to help the targeted survivor escape. Use the altruistic nature of your survivors to punish them by making them turn their focus away from the generators. If they do no generators, they can't escape no matter how many times they save each other. If you fight the battles on the hooks in the early game, you'll lose to the backstage generator rush. If you make them waste their time to save and heal, they won't get any generators done and they won't escape. Also, don't get caught in goose chases where they run you across the map from your 3 generators. Which brings us to tip number 4. Have a plan that can adjust. Not everything goes according to plan, so make sure that as the game goes on, you can adjust and still find success. For example, as generators are completed, keep an eye out for a good 3 gen to hold. A good 3 gen can make powering the exit gates very hard if you play it correctly, so as the game progresses, don't be afraid to prioritize a certain tight cluster of gens over a generator in the distance. It may be better to cut bait and guard the 3 tight gens instead of the far ones so you can actually pressure survivors on it. Certain killers can guard bigger clusters or different height generators than others, so be aware and use this to your advantage as well. Which brings us to tip 5. Never give up. I will say this is probably the most important tip. If, big if, You have a bad game with lots of mistakes, missed hits, and bad generator pressure, leaving you with 4 survivors and powered gates. Never quit. Many daring altruism mistakes are made by survivors near the end. All it takes is one good hook to start a snowball. I have had all 4 survivors in a gate and walked away with 2 kills. It's not worth quitting under any circumstances. If nothing else, grab a few extra blood points and maybe some badge points to prevent a D-pip on a bad game. There isn't a lot of detail I can give you on this, but at that point it's a survivor's game to lose, and man do they have buttery fingers sometimes. I'm sure there are many more tips I could give that aren't in this video, and I might make a part 2, so let me know down in the comments if you'd want to see that. And with that being said, I hope you found this video helpful, and I hope to see you again soon. Take care.